Welcome to Alpha Wolf Capital. I'm Tim, and I want to personally thank you for stopping by. This channel is designed to help small companies, both public and private, gain exposure with potential consumers, investors, even partners. Take, for example, today's guest, CEO Amit Kumar of Anixa Biosciences. Anixa is a clinical stage biotechnology company focused on the treatment and prevention of cancer. Anixa's therapeutic portfolio consists of an ovarian cancer immunotherapy program being developed in collaboration with the Moffitt Cancer Center, which uses a novel type of CAR T known as chimeric endocrine receptor T cell technology. The company's vaccine portfolio includes vaccines being developed in collaboration with the Cleveland Clinic to treat and prevent breast cancer and ovarian cancer, as well as additional cancer vaccines to address many of the intractable cancers, including high incidence malignancies in lung, colon, and prostate. This is an impact company, and I'm going to let Amit tell you more in just a minute. This is not to be taken as investment advice. I am not a certified financial planner. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. I encourage everyone to do their own due diligence. Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Capital coming at you with a follow-up to a fantastic story that's had some really good news recently, and unfortunately hasn't been necessarily reflected in the stock, and that's okay. That's what this show is for, is to help educate people and maybe connect some dots. And I have Amit Kumar in, the CEO of Anixa Biosciences, and I love this company because it could be an absolute game changer in a couple of terrible diseases, right? Amit, thank you so much for coming in to give us an update on what's happening with Anixa. I appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely, Tim. Thanks for having me again.
All right, so look, just to give for the viewers that don't know anything about Anixa, real quick description of what Anixa does.
Yeah, Anixa is a biotech company focused on oncology. Uh, this company is reinvented from a previously failed company. I took over and current management took over in 2017 and turned the company into a biotech. And we've started developing a number of programs. Two of them are in the clinic, one addressing breast cancer and the other addressing ovarian cancer. And then we have a pipeline of other products behind that. The company is operating under a very unique strategy where, unlike most biotechs, we don't burn a massive amount of cash. In fact, our last fiscal year, we burned only $7 million, even though we have two clinical trials going on, both of which are producing very, very positive results. And we've had recent news on both of those trials, and we'll get into that in the discussion, Tim. But we're very excited about the company. The company is starting to get noticed. We've had a lot of national television interviews, lots of national media articles about our technologies and our programs and the advances that we've made. And I encourage people, if they're interested, to go to our website, www.anixa.com, and go to the Anixa in the News section, where they can watch these TV interviews, watch or read the media articles about us and our company. And I'll also mention to everyone, tomorrow we're going to be issuing a press release. Tomorrow, the 20th, depending on when you're watching this video cast, we're going to be issuing a press release about a investor webinar that we're going to be doing later next week. And so those who are interested, I encourage you to go to the press release and sign in using the link there so you can attend the webinar, where I'll do a very comprehensive discussion of the company, the history, the strategy, the programs, catalysts, and do a comprehensive Q&A as well.
And that's on the 20, or when is the actual conference?
That'll be next Thursday.
Next Thursday, okay.
Tomorrow we'll issue the press release with the link so that people can, sign up for that conference.
Okay. Okay. And how long is the conference scheduled for?
It'll be about a little over an hour.
A little over an
We'll
hour?
do a half an hour, 25-minute presentation, and then we'll do a Q&A. So
And will there be a replay?
there will be a replay available.
Okay. All right. So we'll hammer that one home too. Okay. So, uh, what just real quick makes you different from what is your technology? How is it different from like the standard pharma?
Yeah, so I think there are actually two or three things that make our company different from everyone else. One is our strategy. As everyone knows, if you're invested in a biotech companies spend a tremendous amount of money building out big, expensive labs, hiring expensive staff, and doing their R&D. And then when they get into clinical trials, actual human testing, that's when the burn goes up dramatically. And all the biotech companies that are running clinical trials right now are burning massive amounts of cash. Our company is burning barely anything. We've only burned about $5 to $6 million a year. Last fiscal year, we burned seven, and that'll continue going forward because of the way we've structured our business to take advantage of existing infrastructure, as well as a lot of non-dilutive funding coming in to fund our efforts. So that's one, the strategy. Number two, and actually this is something that's unique to small companies, is that all of us as insiders have been consistent buyers of our stock. We all feel incredibly bullish about our company, and so we've been buyers of our stock. I just bought some more when my window opened a couple of weeks ago. I bought over $2.5 million myself since I took over this company, and that'll continue. I anticipate. I can't provide details, but we're all incredibly bullish about
So let me make a point here real quick. So when you said when the window was open, so a lot of people, a lot of retail investors don't understand. CEO or insiders cannot just go out into the market and buy shares whenever they want. There are blackout periods that they have to follow. So they get these windows of opportunity where they can step into the market and buy in the open market, right?
That's exactly right. Those are windows of opportunity where they can sell also or
Correct.
buy. But in our case, everyone has been a buyer, no
Okay.
one selling. And I think that's important because every CEO, including myself, is going to tell you that we've got the greatest thing since sliced bread. But very few CEOs and management teams, including all directors, put their money behind their mouth. We're consistently buying with our money on the open market, and so we're totally all in to the company. So that's another characteristic. The third characteristic is our programs. We're developing programs for high unmet needs. In one case, we're developing a breast cancer vaccine that could be prophylactic, meaning it could be preventative, just like the vaccines for infectious diseases like polio and smallpox, measles that we all know about. We would like to be able to give women a shot before they have breast cancer to prevent breast cancer. And that's something that's unheard of. Imagine if you could give any woman who's interested in worried about breast cancer, a shot and eliminate the possibility that she'll have breast cancer. And that has never been done in cancer. And if we can do it with breast cancer, there's no reason why we couldn't do it with other types. And we already have programs earlier stage, but we have programs to discover these vaccines for lung, prostate, colon, and ovarian cancer. The breast cancer is the one that's exciting and getting a tremendous amount of attention from the media and the medical community, and hopefully soon the investment community, because it's already in clinical trials. We've already tested it on a large number of, I should say, a modest number of women, 35 women in a phase 2 trial, which is complete now, and the data looks incredibly promising. And we're looking forward to starting a phase 2 trial, and assuming the data continues to look good, this could be a game changer. It'll completely change the way we think about cancer. It'll completely change the way we research cancer. There will be tons of research teams all over the world trying to find vaccines for other types of cancers if we can demonstrate this with breast cancer. So it's incredibly exciting. It's a potential product that could be given to pretty much every woman in the world who's worried about breast cancer. And I also want to say one other thing about this particular vaccine. It's not something that's going to be mandated by the government. Vaccines have become
Thank you.
very
Thank you.
Vaccines have become very controversial for reasons that we all hear about, which I won't discuss. But the point is, vaccines are controversial, and one of the controversies is that governments or municipalities, school districts mandate vaccinations, but the vaccinations that are always mandated are vaccinations for communicable diseases,
Yeah.
diseases that you can give to someone else. Breast cancer is not one of those things. You're not going to get breast cancer by hugging someone who has breast cancer. So it's not a vaccine that's going to be mandated by any government. It's a vaccine that you will, as an individual, choose to take if you want to take it after discussions with your family, with your physician, and so forth. So it's a very different type of animal than the traditional infectious disease vaccine, which could be mandated by organizations.
Let me ask you a question real quickly. Now, if I'm, you can guide me if I get off track here, but the vaccine has something to do with when the breast starts to lactate,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So the way this vaccine works, and I will also say that the approach to cancer vaccines that has been tried over the last 2, 3 decades have all failed because we believe that approach is flawed. And getting into the detailed discussions of that might get too scientific for this, but the approach that we're using is a very different approach that has never been tried. It was invented at the Cleveland Clinic about 20 years ago and has been the subject of research for 2 decades now. And the way it works is in the case of the breast cancer situation, is that there's a protein that is produced in the breasts, in the mammary glands of women when they are lactating. So when they get pregnant, a lot of changes occur in your body. One of the changes is that in the mammary glands, cells start producing this protein called alpha-lactalbumin. The name is not important for our discussion, but the point is it's a lactation protein. It allows you to lactate, allows the mother to lactate. Because as you know, women don't lactate all the time. They only
Right.
lactate when they need to feed their child. And so it allows lactation. And after she finishes breastfeeding and stops breastfeeding, the body knows that we don't need that protein anymore and it disappears. It reappears again after she gets pregnant and has another child, another child. But eventually, after she's no longer going to have children, it disappears and in most women is never seen in throughout their lifetimes. It's gone. But in the 1 out of 8 women that will get breast cancer, most of them will have the breast cancer cells producing that protein. We don't know exactly why, but the cancer cells are producing that protein, and that's the key characteristic that's important. So what we would do is we would vaccinate women after they're no longer going to have children and teach their immune systems to destroy any cell making that protein. So if they're not lactating and they're not having children, then the only cell in the whole body that makes that protein is a breast cancer cell. And so when those cells arise, if she's been vaccinated properly and her immune system has been trained to destroy those cells, as soon as those cells arise, the immune system will destroy them and they never have a chance to become a big multi-billion cell mass, which is a tumor that you can see in a mammogram. So,
So
so
the
the woman
question would
will,
be, well,
yeah,
wait a minute. You're telling me that that's the cell that makes it so I can lactate. Does that mean I can't have kids if I take
no.
this?
That's a really good question. And when we did the animal studies, we found that the vaccinated animals were perfectly capable of having kids. The kids were perfectly normal. The pups were perfectly normal. Everything was fine. The only difference is that the mother could not produce milk because what the vaccine had done is it had taught her immune system to destroy any cell making that protein. And the cells making that protein are the cells that enable lactation. So she couldn't make milk, but the kids were perfectly fine. So that's a really good question because what happens, there are some women who get breast cancer when they're in their 20s, right?
Right.
And then there are even women who accidentally or intentionally get pregnant when they're in their 40s. It's
Yeah.
rare, but it happens. And so the question is, what if I'm vaccinated and I get pregnant? Is that going to be a problem? And the answer is no. What's going to happen is you're going to be able to have a baby just as normal as ever, but you will have to feed the baby with formula or with breast milk from someone else because you, as the mother who's been vaccinated, won't be able to make milk.
Right. And actually, this is actually segues into a whole nother topic for me. But the formula, at one point
Yeah,
we had a problem with the formula, right?
yeah,
We
that's
couldn't
right.
get it,
Yeah.
right? So,
And now we're reinventing the formula, right?
well, what's funny is there's a company out there that has a formula. It's plant based.
Mhm.
And the reason for the plant based is because you've got the kids that have what is it, the against milk,
Allergies, yeah, lactose,
yeah, lactose intolerant, right?
yeah.
The FDA though won't allow the plant formula to be tested actually qualify it as a baby formula,
Hmm.
which I think is just asinine, right? I mean, there are people out there that are using this for their kids that are lactose intolerant, and it's a lifesaver, right, for them.
Yeah,
But the FDA doesn't want to actually let it compete against the baby formula that's out there.
I see. Yeah, I'm not an expert on formula.
Yeah,
I couldn't really comment on that.
I know. I understand. Everything's kind of interconnected. If your thing goes through,
Yeah.
then I would say we're probably going to need more supplies of baby formula.
Possibly, although we don't think that most women who are going to get pregnant are going to take the vaccine. Remember, it's a vaccine that's voluntary, and so most likely you'll say, you know what, I'm 40, I'm not going to have children anymore. I'm going to take the vaccine. Uh,
Right.
but you're right, there are some women who are younger, especially the women who carry mutations that predispose them to breast cancer that might choose to have get the vaccine at a younger age, right? A lot of these women at a younger age are getting prophylactic mastectomies. You remember Angelina Jolie a few years ago
Yeah,
had her breasts surgically removed because she was a mutation carrier. A lot of women are doing that. I think it would be much better for them to
absolutely.
have a couple of shots, as opposed to, you know, that very disfiguring, painful, expensive surgery with a lot of recovery time. And so there will be some women like that, and those women, they can choose to, feed their children with formula if they get pregnant.
I mean, I look at it like this. Breast cancer if you've ever known anybody that's gone through it, it's just a
Yeah.
terrible freaking disease. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a terrible disease. They go in, they get a mastectomy, and then they think they got it all, and they find out they didn't get it all. They got to go back through the surgery all over again. It's a terrible,
Yeah.
terrible thing.
Well, not only that, not only is it a terrible disease, but the recurrences, especially for aggressive forms of breast cancer, is very high. And once a recurrence happens, then it's really hard to save that person's life because it tends to be much more aggressive at that point and is often metastasized to other places besides the breast, like the bone and things like that. It's incredibly painful, incredibly hard to deal with. And what a lot of people tell me, and this is true, is that over the last 20 years, or the last 30 years, last 2 or 3 decades, we have become very good at keeping women alive who have breast cancer. We teach them to go, do their self exams. We teach them to go to their regular screening, and we're catching a lot of breast cancers early enough that you can, curatively treat them. They may still recur at some point in the future, but you can curatively treat them now, whereas in the past, you often found it when it was way too late. So that's good. However, the treatment is brutal. It's
Right.
still a lot of
Not
therapy.
a good quality of life.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's expensive for the healthcare system, surgery, it's radiation. It's not good. Um, so wouldn't it be better? And then the other thing is once you've had breast cancer or any cancer for that matter, you're always worried that it's going to come back because now you're at a higher risk because you've already had the cancer. And so every morning you wake up and you got a headache. Is it just a headache because you didn't sleep well or something, or is it because the breast cancer had come back and metastasize to your brain? It's an anxiety thing that exists for every cancer survivor. Wouldn't it be better if we just gave you a couple of shots and you
And
never
you
had
didn't have to worry
cancer?
about that
Yeah,
anymore.
and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And it's a bold statement for me to make based on our phase one data, but based on all the data that we have in the animal studies and the data that we've seen so far in the small number of women that we've tested, we think this is a real possibility.
Okay. Let's talk about your other treatment.
Yeah, so the other treatment is an ovarian cancer treatment. And this is for women who have failed other treatments. So they're typical when a woman gets ovarian cancer, so she'll go through a lot of different things, including surgery. And typically, um, most women who are diagnosed with ovarian cancer have already had the cancer spread because there's no early detection technology that we have today for ovarian cancer. So by the time a woman starts feeling symptoms and they go in and discover she's got ovarian cancer, it's already spread. It's usually stage three, sometimes it's stage four. So that's very, very late stage. And so after surgery, these women typically get standard therapies, which have been around for decades. And then there's some new therapies, but they don't work very well. And these women eventually become resistant to all these therapies. And at that point, most of these women are told by their physicians, go home and get your affairs in order. And they probably have about 3 months of life expectancy, median, 12 weeks or so. And it's also a very bad quality of life during those 12 weeks. um, that's when we get them, when they're at their last stages. And so we have started this new type of therapy called CAR T, chimeric antigen receptor T cell technology, which is a new type of immunotherapy that got people really excited a few years ago because it took very, very sick, metastatic, on their deathbed, leukemia and lymphoma patients and was able to save their lives. So people got really excited about it, but no one is able to make that type of therapy work in solid tumors like ovarian cancer. We have designed a new approach utilizing some characteristics about this CAR T therapy that we've learned based on all of the failures that have gone on in the past and designed it so that it can be successful. And we're already seeing good successes. We've only treated 9 patients. We're about to treat the 10th patient now, and we've only treated women at very, very low doses. And we weren't expecting to see any results initially because at the low doses, you're just verifying that it's safe before you go to the higher doses. But we're already starting to see incredible results. We have one patient, our first patients who is now alive for 25 months, good quality of life. Although she's, having some issues now, but still 25 months compared to 3 months is what she was expecting. We have another patient that's at 13 months. We have several others that are past their 3 month life expectancy, but we will know every month we'll know how much longer each of them are living. And so the key here is that at the earliest stages of this trial, where everyone else has failed, we're actually starting to see results. And as we go to higher doses, this 10th patient that we're about to dose is at a higher dose. And then 11, 12 will be at that dose. And then 13th will be even higher dose and so forth. We anticipate that we're going to be able to save many of these patients' lives. So I want to be clear. We haven't cured any of these patients. So even the woman who's alive over 2 years. We didn't cure her tumor. We did see that the therapy knocked out a chunk of her tumor, and we looked at biopsy samples and so forth, and but we didn't completely destroy it. We think as we go to higher dosages, we will be able to curatively treat these women. And so those results are going to be coming out over the next few months. So those results are going to be very catalytic for the company because these women have absolutely no other option. They're going to die and they're going to have a bad quality of life. And if we can extend their lives and improve their quality of life, this is a game changer for ovarian cancer.
Would this be classified as a compassionate use drug or no?
Potentially, it could be used as a compassionate use drug, but in the United States, it's rare for companies to do compassionate use for a number of reasons why, I won't go into. In Europe, it's easier. In certain countries in Europe, it's easier to try compassionate use. But, our intent here is to go through the traditional FDA development and approval process and then get this out on the market for
All right,
terminal.
so let me make something really clear for everybody. This isn't your first rodeo with a biotech company.
No. Yeah.
And that's what made you very cognizant of the fact of how typical biotechs work, right?
Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about that since you brought it up, Tim. I have run a number of biotech companies. My last biotech company I had taken public, on the Nasdaq. It was a traditional biotech that had a large burn, and I had to go and raise money multiple times, diluting shareholders, including myself, who was an insider. And eventually, after being public for several years, it was sold, and it was a modest success, but it wasn't as big a success as it could have been had I been able to keep from diluting and raising money all the time. And when you raise money, often you create very inefficient capital structures. You create lots of warrants, you create lots of overhang, which takes value away from common shareholders, which is
Yep.
what I would be as a CEO and what other shareholders would be that bought on the open market. And so I've intentionally designed this company and run it in a way that we do not have all of those overhangs. So we have zero warrants, no overhang of any sort, so that when the company is successful, as the company achieves various milestones, all the value will accrue to the common shareholders like myself, our insiders, as well as the people who are buying on the open market. The One of the challenges we were talking earlier before the interview started about companies that often produce good results and still their stocks go down. Part of the reason is that because shareholders expect those companies to try and raise money, and that's why their
As
stocks
soon as
go
they
down
get some good news.
as soon as they get good news. And then secondly, new shareholders, sophisticated shareholders, typically don't buy on the open market if they see a lot of overhangs in terms of warrants, because to accrue value to you as an open market buyer, you have to go past the warrants and the strike prices of the warrants, or because those are going to be sort of ceilings.
Hmm.
And so typically sophisticated investors will not just look at the stock price and what the company's doing, they'll look at the capital structure. They'll go to their Qs and Ks and read, and if there's a lot of warrants, they won't buy unless they feel that the number of warrants is small enough that you can overcome them very quickly. And so I've intentionally kept the warrant level on our company to zero. And I hope to continue doing that. I will say that a lot of my colleagues, many of them are classmates of mine who are running other biotech companies, have had to do these deals with lots of warrants. And it was those situations occurred because they're burning a lot of cash and they needed the cash to keep the doors open. So they had to do the best deal they could. We don't do that. We don't burn a lot of cash. So we have no immediate need to do a deal with a gun to our head and create warrants that will,
And that's exactly what it is too. And it's not just the warrants. It's the warrants, it's the ratchets, it's the
yes,
ropers, it's
that's even
all the
worse. Yeah.
stuff,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Those are
That
even worse.
that honestly, the average retail investor has no clue as to what the financial industry,
Yeah.
how challenging they make it for the small
Yeah.
company,
Yeah.
right? And then really, when you're in the market for capital, you don't have a lot of options. And the options you do have, when they're all on the same page of how they go about doing capital raises,
Yeah.
it's a tough game. So
Yeah.
that was one of the things that really attracted to me because you also were able to get a grant from the Department of Defense, which I found to be absolutely brilliant. But
Yeah.
can you just bring that up real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. We have our breast cancer vaccine, which I just spoke about a moment ago, is was developed at the Cleveland Clinic, and the Department of Defense gave the Cleveland Clinic a multi-year, multi-million dollar contract to take that vaccine from the laboratory, which is where it was when we got involved, into clinical testing. So the DoD has paid 100% of for the development of that vaccine to date until we finish, and there's still more money coming until we finish the phase one clinical trial. At the end of until we finished it, we're analyzing the data. At the end of the year, we'll be providing a big report not only to the FDA but also to the U.S. Department of Defense. Um, Going forward, we think there are other opportunities to continue funding from the government. But there's a lot of uncertainty right now, and so it's not absolutely clear what's going to happen. The data for our phase one looks fantastic, and if it were a different time, we would think that we would get additional funding. But as you hear about what's happening in our government right now. Some things are great, some things are, rough. And so we're not necessarily counting on that funding. We're well funded already. We're already speaking with pharmaceutical companies about partnering.
Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to ask you. You don't have any intention of, if, I mean, let's say that all these things go well for you. You would not try to commercialize this, would you?
No, we would not. There's no reason for us to reinvent the wheel. To commercialize, you have to build out expensive manufacturing facilities. That takes a lot of capital. You've got to build out sales, marketing, distribution. That, again, takes a lot of capital. The big pharma companies already have that. They already have that infrastructure. And so rather than do it ourselves, take a lot of time, dilute shareholders, we want to partner with pharma companies and have them pump the products through their infrastructure that is a sunk cost for them already, and we will take a revenue share. And
Right.
it's just like BioNTech did with their COVID vaccine. The vaccine was always called the Pfizer vaccine, but BioNTech was the developer of the vaccine, and then Pfizer became the commercialization partner. They took it, they distribute, they have distribution capability throughout the world. They've got thousands and thousands of salespeople, customer support, all of the things that are necessary, the logistics to be able to commercialize something like that. And we think our vaccine, the breast cancer vaccine, could be something like that. It would be distributed eventually throughout the world, and for a small company like us to build out that infrastructure would take not
I mean,
only,
that's a win-win for
yeah,
everybody. It's a
exactly.
win-win for the consumer. It's a win-win for and it's a win-win for Pfizer. Everybody wins,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
I have had companies in the past that thought because they had something that they felt was so special and different, and it was. But here's the reality of it. It- If a doctor's been writing a certain script for 20 years, the odds of getting that doctor to switch from that script is so challenging
Yeah,
that I don't care if you have a better safety profile. I don't care if it's easier to take. It doesn't matter. It's very difficult to get somebody that's been doing the same thing for 20 years to switch
yeah,
because that's how it's been it's been working for him for 20 years. Why risk it?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And so the only way to get that doctor to switch or to try something new is to educate that doctor. You've got to educate that doctor. You've got to have the infrastructure to educate all those doctors throughout the country, throughout the world. You've got to be able to hold conferences. All of that takes time and takes money. And the big pharma companies have all the infrastructure to do that. And so they are, they've sunk billions of dollars in that infrastructure. So they're constantly looking for new products to pump through that that infrastructure for which they've made massive investments. And
Yeah.
so we give up a little bit of revenue, we let them commercialize it, it'll get commercialized faster, and the ultimate revenue for us, even though we're only getting a portion of it, is going to be bigger than the revenue for if we were to try and do it ourselves and build it out slowly. And
Right.
the other thing that that provides for our shareholders, our current shareholders and shareholders who are going to buy stock near term, is that it monetizes the asset. So typically, when you do these types of deals with pharma companies, you get an upfront licensing fee, you get milestone payments, R&D support, as well as a royalty. And so if you sign one of those deals, which we hope to sign sometime soon, then you end up creating a lot of value for the shareholders long before the product has gotten
It
FDA
actually hits.
approval and is on the market. So,
Yep.
again, it's a win-win for everyone.
Right. All right. Do you feel as though I've missed anything here?
No, I think you've caught pretty much everything. I think the important thing is, please stay tuned with what we are doing because we've got a lot of exciting news coming up. And I really do encourage people to go and look at some of our media events because on our website on the IR site where it says Anixa in the news because
And if you can, make sure you participate in the upcoming webinar,
that's exactly
right?
right, which will be next week on Thursday.
Which I'm going to put up right here where I'm pointing my finger in a minute. It's
Yeah,
not there now, but it will be.
yeah,
And then also what was I going to say? This is what I'm going to say. Actually, I don't tell people what to do. I don't tell them how to invest, where to invest, when to buy, when to sell. But I would say this, and I think, and I say this with pretty much now every company that I interview, because the whole point of my content is I want to find companies that are going to have and make a dramatic impact on humanity. Because even if it's not a dramatic, maybe I should rephrase that. I want to help companies that are going to have a positive impact on humanity, whether it's big or small, because there's that saying about if you want the most out of life, try improving yourself just a little bit every day, right? Get yourself a little bit smarter, maybe a little bit stronger, whatever it is. Just try to improve yourself a little bit every day. Now imagine if we did that on a grander scale,
yeah,
where we try to help the planet, the the humanity improve a little bit every day. One of the ways that we can do that is as a consumer or as an investor, right? By helping other people recognize the importance of what this small company is doing. Because as that small company grows, they hire more people. Communities do better where they're at because now you got to buy houses and restaurants are needed and all of that stuff is it's just a ripple effect, right?
yeah,
So now imagine you're doing that for a company that's going to cure breast cancer. That's kind of a big thing. How would you like to be able to tell your friends, hey, I'm part owner of a company that's trying to cure breast cancer? Because that's what you are as a shareholder,
yeah.
right? You are part owner of the company that is
That's
trying to cure breast cancer. That's a big thing, man, right? You can confidently say that, even if you only own one share. That's why I'm saying if you're watching this, go buy a share. I could get away with saying that. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't tell people what to do.
yeah.
But I can say go risk $3. Go risk $3. Skip the coffee today. Maybe that's $8. Go risk $8, buy two shares. Skip the coffee today, right?
Yeah.
And then you, at least because you own it, you will pay attention to what's happening with the company,
Yeah.
right? Go to their website, sign up for their investor emails, and you'll get alerts sent right to your email and tell you
Yeah.
what's going on with the company,
Yeah.
right? And then that is something you could be extremely proud of supporting and getting behind a company like that. Whereas I think a lot of people right now in this particular climate that we have, where you've got two sides that are literally just trying to destroy one another, and what does that really accomplish? There's a whole lot of time spent on getting no results. If we spent as much time as we do fighting one another and just focused on the companies that are doing good things, right?
Yeah.
Let's make us a little bit better every day. This is one of those companies without a question. So spread the word about Anixa. Tell your friends. I mean, and if you buy one or two shares, that's great. You're part owner. Tell everybody you own part of a company that's trying to solve breast cancer.
Yeah.
Spread the word, right?
Yeah.
And that can be very powerful in itself.
Yeah. No, no, thank you. Thank you for that, Tim. I think your approach and philosophy is great. It's fantastic. There's a lot of vitriol in the world today, and if we could eliminate that fighting and all do good things, that would be fantastic. I don't have any illusions that that's going to happen overnight, but but it would be
Listen,
great.
I don't
And
either, but it's a big it is a goal of mine. I mean that is because I don't think people realize how much power the consumer
yeah,
has, and I don't think people always recognize. Well, what do I care about this company? I don't know anybody that's got breast cancer, but you know what? That's not the way to look at it, right? How much money do we spend on these people that need to have breast cancer surgeries and all this stuff?
yeah.
Where could
Bill,
that money be applied if we didn't have to worry about breast cancer anymore?
right, right.
Right?
Yeah, that's a fantastic way of looking at it. And I will say one other thing about our company. Whether you own one share or a million shares, every shareholder who calls me gets a phone call back, regardless of how big a shareholder you are. It may not be immediate, but I will call you back. I also call every patient. I get lots of calls from patients who are suffering from breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and I call every single one of them back and their doctors if they want to talk to me. And also, if anyone is, in this presentation, we didn't get into the lot of the detailed science, but if anyone's interested in understanding more details about the molecular biology of what we are doing, you're a scientist, you're a physician, or just someone who wants to understand that, feel free to call me. I will always call you back. Maybe not immediately, but I will always call you back.
Which I think is huge because there are a lot of CEOs out there, by the way, that look, if you don't have 10,000, 100,000 shares, they're not even going to bother
Yeah.
uh, picking up the phone, right? When the CEO says, "I don't care if you own one share or 10,000," that's meaningful to me, right? And the only thing I wanted to do real quick is take a look at the chart and see where, look, I think that, not right now. I think that you have a lot of stuff going on. I think you're undervalued.
Yeah.
I don't know what how you feel about it, but that's just,
I think that's kind of a trick question, Tim.
yeah, I know.
You ask any CEO whether they're undervalued or not, they're always going to say they are, right? Of course, I think the
But
interest.
but you know what? You spoke. You already spoke because you just bought some shares, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
obviously, you don't even have to say anything because really, you wouldn't be buying shares if you thought it was overpriced, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And
Okay, so I'm looking at the chart and let me see if let me get this out of the way. I'm gonna get this out of the way.
and another thing, if people are looking at charts and they like to look at charts, I encourage you to look at our chart versus the XBI, which is the
The
index,
biotech, the
small and mid
ETF.
cap, biotech index, and
Yeah.
and compare us on a one month basis, 3 month, 12 month, 5 year basis, And you'll see that even though we are still very undervalued, we've done better than the XBI during any, any period you can.
So actually, you just had an interesting little. Why did you have that pop? Is that because was that because of the announcement?
It's hard to say, but as I said, we're getting a lot of media attention on this breast cancer vaccine now. So
Okay,
we've done some TV interviews. We've done some. The breast cancer vaccine was interviewed. It was discussed on Fox.
okay.
Fox National. Nicole Saphier, who's their medical commentator, talked about it. Even though she was not involved in the research, I've never talked to her, but she looked at the data and commented on it. A few of their other medical commentators have commented on it. And so we're getting a lot of attention. We're also getting, international attention. I've done interviews, TV interviews in Australia and India. I've got some lined up for Europe, and people are, this is a big deal.
It's starting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
starting to
it's percolating.
cook. Yeah, and so I think we're going to start having some really, really good interest in the company going forward.
All right, Amit, I love it. Hold on one second. I'm gonna shut this off. We'll have you back as soon as you've got, I don't know, as soon as something significant happens,
Okay,
if you've got some news, we'll have you back. Okay?
sounds good.
All right, hold on one second. Thank you for tuning in to another CEO interview here at Alpha Wolf Capital. Today we had Amit Kumar from Anixa Biosciences. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor, give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, make sure you smash that subscribe button. All of those things are extremely important to us here at Alpha Wolf Capital, and we appreciate you taking the time to do that. Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Capital wishes you the very best of success.